Good afternoon, everybody. On my way home from work now. This is Rabbi Kolakowski, Koblentzerov. Another political message, but it's related to religion. Not my own, a different religion, but it's somewhat related to mine as well. But really a very political statement right now here once again, which I maybe regret because I should be doing more Torah. Maybe I should pick a sefer that we could learn together. I'm learning now on my own Mesilas Yesharim. I'm thinking maybe once I'm as a schus for Shleima for my Rebbe, for Kal Rebbe Shlita, for Shleima, Ben Moshe Ben Rezel, for Shleima. But I'm thinking maybe when I finish that sefer, maybe I'll go and make a video series on the Mesilas Yesharim. Maybe. But anyway, back to politics. You know, they say that the Samarov, he said on himself that he knew politics, which was amazing because he just learned Torah all day. How did he know politics? But he knew it. You know, you could say almost like how Chazal say in the Hasidim Rishonim, when did they have time to learn and work if they're davening for 9 hours a day? And the answer was that their Torah became richer and their work was blessed, so they only had to work a little bit, and their Torah study became very wise. So maybe, you know, Samarov spent a long time davening, a long time learning, and a little bit of politics, I guess, was also gebenched. I don't learn as much as I should, and I don't daven as ehrlich as I should, but here I am giving my 2 cents on something political, but it's political and religious at the same time. There came out a story that I guess there are different caucuses. I know Rush Limbaugh likes to pluralize caucus as caucus, which makes some sense. I don't know if it's proper English or not. I don't know which one is proper English. I'm pretty sure it's caucuses. But anyway, I don't know he means it as a joke. I know he doesn't actually think that it's that, but it makes sense that there were in the DNC, the convention, I guess that's repetitive, the C stands for convention or it stands for committee, I'm not sure. They had these various caucuses that broke up into groups, and several of them, I guess they all had to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, which has a rather interesting history, to say the least. If you go back to the original history of the Pledge of Allegiance, but I often say what made it kosher in the end was when they added under God in the 1950s. But several of the caucuses apparently left out, they said the pledge and they left out the words that were added by law. It was a congressional act that was signed into law by President Eisenhower to add the words under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. And they left those 2 words under God out. And the weird one that left out under God was the Muslim caucus, which confuses me to no end. Because here you have members of a religion that they should be praying 5 times a day. Every other word is Inshallah, Bismillah, Mashallah, and they teach that you're blessed every time you mention the name of God, and that you should mention God's name all the time. Why on earth would people who identify as Muslims leave out under God from the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't know. If anything, if they were really Muslim, they would leave out the whole rest and only have those 2 words under God. Because if you're really Muslim, which means that you submit to God, that should be your whole life, which it is for most of the pious Muslims in the world. for this reason, this only proves the point that I've been making for years now, that these Democrats who self-identify as Muslims are kufir. They're heretics. They're infidels. They're not Muslim. And I've spoken to Muslims who agree with me on this. The Democrat Party today does not stand for the values of Muslims, of Islam, just like they're against the values of Orthodox Judaism and of people, Christians who take their Christianity seriously, of the various denominations. And instead you have these phony leftist churches and temples, and quote-unquote synagogues of the Reform and of these various liberal Christian denominations that, they'll go and say you're going to go to hell if you vote for Donald Trump. Nonsense like that they said at the DNC this year. Can you imagine such a thing? Did it ever happen in a Republican convention that they say that a pastor got up and said you're going to go to hell if you vote for the Democrat, even though you probably will? I mean, you're voting to kill innocent babies. You're voting to do all these things that go against biblical values. But they wouldn't say that. They have a little bit of class, But that's neither here nor there. But what I've been saying for a long time is that the American right has to accept the fact that Muslim Americans are part of the American fabric, and we welcome them, and they're part of the American fabric more than they've ever been in history today. And classically, Muslims did vote for conservative Republicans, and recently they've stopped doing so, and some haven't. I don't know the exact numbers, but certainly the media would have you believe that somehow because President Trump is trying to prevent terrorists from coming into this country, the same terrorists that the Muslim Americans who are immigrants who came to this country to escape those people, and they don't want them to follow them to America, right? They came to America to have freedom, and they don't want these extremists here. And they want to be able to know who's coming in. That's it's the same thing really with the Hispanic Americans who really, many of them are supporting President Trump because they don't want the human traffickers and the drug cartels and, like President Trump said, the bad hombres to come in. It's not an issue that he hates Muslims or he hates Hispanics. It's that he wants to keep criminals out, and criminals cannot hide behind race or religion. It's the same thing with Jewish criminal elements, with people like George Soros, who are not really Jewish. He's also a kafir, the same word like the Muslims say kufir. He's an infidel, an atheist, a heretic, an apostate, and he's not part of the Klal Yisrael. He can repent with it, but anybody can. If you're not Jewish, you could convert to Judaism. So how's that any different? It's really not that different. So just the fact that George Soros can repent doesn't mean that he will, doesn't mean he's going to. And the same with any other number of evil people. They can't, and then people say, oh, you're anti-Semitic if you talk about George Soros. No, it's anti-Semitic, it's racist, it's problematic to give him a pass just because he claims some kind of Jewish identity, even though he admitted himself that he's an anti-Semite. And that's how he was raised. That's how he was his whole life, an anti-Semitic Jew. So I don't know what we're talking about here, but anyway, the Republican Party and conservative Americans in general have to make a concerted effort to do outreach to the Muslim community in America, because these are our natural allies. We have so much more in common with them. Orthodox Jews and religious Christians have more in common with the average religious, traditional, moderate Muslim in America than they do with many of their own liberal or left-wing co-religionists. And so we have to make an effort to reach out to them, but also to show them that people like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are not Muslim. They are kufir. And they're not part of the Ummah. And, when we embrace that message and reach out and show how the Democrats who call themselves Muslims are no more Muslim than the Democrats who call themselves Jews, yet do they keep kosher? They keep Shabbos? Do they put on tefillin? Do they daven? A lot of them probably don't even go to the temple on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. They probably don't even like Hanukkah left, So this is what we're dealing with here. We have the same problem in the Jewish world, and the Muslims should wake up and see that that's the problem in the Islamic world. That there are many people who are Muslims in name only. And it's one thing, you want to have mercy on people and recognize that they're not so religious, is one thing. But if they're actively fighting against the basic tenets of the faith, they're actively working against, basic pillars of Islam, basic ideas of the Sunnah, basic things that are working for things that are haram, right? Because what is, the basic idea of Islam is enjoying that which is good and reject that which is evil. These people are evil. They're communists. They're atheists. They're kufir. And so pious Muslims should not be supporting them. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. And we'll see you guys later.